Hey guys, welcome back. So recently I ran into something I thought was worthy of sharing with you. So I'm talking about my wife's car here. So yeah, this is new car stuff. We will talk about classic car stuff in a second here. Anyway, this is my wife's 2015 Chevy Malibu. It is 2.5 liter inline 4 direct injected, your basic Ecotec. Anyway, she complained about an engine light coming on in this car, and what I did was I took it to the shop I work at, JNL Frame and Alignment. I threw it on the scanner. Now unfortunately I couldn't bring the car in the shop. It was full of customers' cars, but I could bring the scanner out to the car, and of course it was dark outside, so all I could really do is scan the car, and it was a P0171 code, which stands for it's a lean condition bank 1. Now we're only dealing with one bank because this is a 4-cylinder. So now looking at all the engine data, the mass airflow sensor seemed to be working okay. The O2 seemed to be working okay. It could also be a vacuum. There could be a whole host of different things that a P0171 code will be. Now, all I could really do at that time, because I couldn't properly diagnose the car, was clear the code. I gave the wife her car back, and of course a couple days later the engine light came on again. So what I did, when I had the car in my garage here at home under the light, I actually started looking for a vacuum leak. And yeah, there's a whole host of different hoses and lines in these cars. So I had my hand in behind the engine here, and I bumped the intake manifold by mistake, and the thing actually moved. And when I grabbed it and pulled on it, yeah, it was actually moving. So now, before I did anything else, I actually Googled it, and apparently this is a common issue. And it's not just with these particular cars, but Chevy, Ford, Dodge, Toyota, Nissan. There's a whole host of cars out there that have this type of same condition. So these intake manifolds do tend to come loose, and what I did was I removed all this ductwork here to gain access to the intake manifold. This one only has 5 bolts on it, and the last 2 on the end were actually finger tight. So all I did was I tightened up those bolts, put everything back together, skipped back to the shop, put it back on the scanner, and yeah, all the fuel trim data looked good, and the engine light's been off ever since. So the main reason I wanted to share this with you guys is I notice a lot of folks out there with their engine lights on, even our customers, and they're not concerned about it. There was no drivability issues with this car whatsoever. It started, ran, and drove as good as it always does. But things like this, left unchecked for a long period of time, could be bad. It could cause engine damage, and certainly the fuel mileage just goes down the drain. So when the computer actually senses unmetered air entering the engine, it just throws a bunch of fuel at the thing. So yeah, fuel mileage will go out the window in a big hurry. Anyway, I thought I'd share that with you guys. Anytime you got an engine light, just because your car is running okay, it would be a really good idea to have it scanned and checked, because it could be a simple fix like this. Like I say, it was just you know, 5 loose bolts. It didn't cost me anything but time to fix this. So anyway, that's all sorted out now. It was something I never ran into before, but apparently it's a common issue with all kinds of vehicles out there. So yeah, I thought I'd share that with you guys. So now that we're done with that, classic car stuff. So I've been asked recently, at least by 2 guys in the last month or so here, if I've ever done any video on storing your classic car for the winter. Now in Saskatchewan here, yeah, winter's pretty long, so 6 months is pretty much a minimum for storing our cars. And it really, guys, I have done a video a couple years ago, but it was a long drawn out deal, and it was like a 2-part video, and it went on, and it was kind of, you can watch it if you like. It's a long, boring deal. Really, there's only 3 things you have to be concerned about, and this is what I do. Now, the first thing I like to do is change oil in the car, and I got lots of reasons for that. I've learned a lot about oils and contaminants and oil filters and all that kind of jazz. We can share that with you in another video in the future. But even if the car is not due for an oil change, it's a really good idea to change the oil before you store the car. I don't even store my lawnmower in dirty oil, so I'm certainly not going to do it to my classic car. So I change the oil as soon as it gets parked. And the only other thing you can do is well, number 2 on the list is get yourself a battery tender or maintainer. These things are really cheap. They just put a 2 amp trickle charge to the battery, and it actually shuts off on its own when the battery reaches 100%. Now these things are pretty cheap. They're about 40 bucks. And now unfortunately with all things in the automotive industry today, the quality isn't there anymore, guys. So and it's the same for batteries. If you get 5 years out of a battery today, you're really doing good. Now, the last battery I had in here, I just replaced it. It was 13 years old. And that was only because I, was real diligent about using the battery maintainer on, when it was stored. And it really, helped that thing live for a long time. 13 years is a long time for any battery. And by today's standards, that's extremely well. The third thing on the list, now, this may not apply to you if you're in a climate-controlled situation, but I like to fill my car right up to the top with non-ethanol blended fuel. So premium fuel goes in that thing, and I fill it right to the brim. And the reason for that is I'm in a my garage is, the temperature tends to fluctuate here. I don't turn the heater on unless I'm actually working in the garage. So the temperature's up and down all the time, and if you're in a cold storage situation, this will apply to you as well. Fill that thing right to the brim. If you don't and the temperature fluctuates, you will get moisture in your gas tank. You'll get condensation in the tank, and water in your fuel is a bad thing. So really, guys, there's only 3 things to be concerned about when storing your car. Change the oil, throw a battery tender on there. These things are safe. You don't have to worry about them. You plug them in, you leave them, and they'll look after it for you. And yeah, fill the gas tank to the top. That's an important one. And always use, premium or non-ethanol blended fuels. You should be using that in your classic car anyway. Just fill it to the top when it comes time to park it. Yeah, guys, so yeah, three things on storing your vehicle. And I thought I'd share this whole engine code fiasco I had last week on the wife's car. It's a good idea to check those codes if they ever come up, and don't continue to drive just because there's no drivability issues. It can create damage, and certainly in this case fuel mileage would have went down the drain. So anyway, thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope to have some more exciting videos for you coming up this weekend. I appreciate everybody that's liked, shared, and subscribed, and we'll see you again.